Rabotai, welcome back. Welcome back. Rabotai, welcome back to Dalat Amot Shel Halacha. En lo lakadosh baruch hu ba'olamo ela arba amot shel halacha belvad. All Hashem has in the world is the people that sit and learn halacha in their arba amot of space. We are continuing in Siman Reish Tzadik Tet in halacha bet. That this will be part 2 of the shiur and the conclusion for halacha bet in the Shulchan Aruch. Before we do continue, we want to bring down 4 critical points that we saw yesterday as a review. Point number 1, we saw yesterday that if a person was having a drink, he was drinking during a meal, and since night already came, meaning it was already nightfall, and the people that were sitting next to each other, they used the words ba'uvin avdil, come and let's do havadalah. We saw in the Mishnah Berurah explain that those words do not separate meat from the meal. So therefore the Shulchan Aruch says if you want to go back and continue eating or even drinking, you don't have to go back and say the bracha. You're allowed to continue without first having to say havdalah. Then we saw point number 2. What happens if I was only drinking at nightfall, where it's not allowed? And then the people that were sitting over there, and they said, Bovin avdil, come and let's do havdalah. Over there the Mishnah Berurah says, according to everybody, it separates you from the drink. Now the obligation of havdalah falls on you. So therefore, you have to do havdalah before you could drink. But we said that what happens if the people don't want to listen to the halacha, so they're not planning to do havdalah, and they want to continue drinking. Do they have to bless? Yes or no? According to the Mishnah Berurah, we said they do have to bless. According to the Beit Yosef, what we saw in Rabbi Dahan and Otuvav in Amodei Hara'ah, he says we the Sephardim do not bless because of Safek Berachot Lakel. Whenever you have a doubt and you're dealing with Berachot which is only from the rabbis, Lakel, you're always going to be lenient, meaning you're not going to say the bracha. So that was another point that we saw yesterday regarding the drink. But we saw a very important concept. Point number 3 was that there's a very big difference between Kiddush and Havdalah. By Kiddush, even though you're before Shabbat, meaning on Erev Shabbat, on Friday afternoon, you're sitting and you're eating, and you say the words Ba'uvin Nekadesh. By saying the words Ba'uvin Nekadesh, Kiddush falls on you, and it's asur for you to eat. Now, if you do want to go ahead and eat, we're going to tell you, you first have to say a bracha. Again, I'm not telling you that you're doing the Kiddush. Since the obligation of Kiddush fell on you and you don't want to do the Kiddush, it's asur for you to eat. Of course, you're not allowed to go and eat. But what happens to people, they don't want to listen to you. Whatever it was, the people said, let's do Kiddush, and then they see they don't have wine, so now they're not doing no Kiddush. But they said the words. Are they allowed to eat? Absolutely not. What should they do next? Kiddush. They don't want to do Kiddush, whatever, or they don't have Kiddush. Can they continue eating? Absolutely not. Now, what happens if one of them doesn't want to follow the halacha and he says, I want to eat? And the food which you already blessed, before they said the words, Ba'uvin Kadesh, does he have to go back and bless now again? Yes. Because the words of Ba'uvin Kadesh completely remove you from the meal, even if you were in the meal, in a bread meal. But by havadalah, Rabotai, we saw that that's the leniency by havadalah. Whenever you say the words of Ba'uvin Avdil, come and let's do havdalah, by Shabbat, by Friday afternoon, when you say Ba'uvin Kadesh, that cuts you off. By Ba'uvin Avdil, it does not cut you off, Rabotai. If you were in a bread meal and you started in a permissible way, and now you said Ba'uvin Avdil, you're allowed to continue. And we saw that this is the difference between Shabbat, by Kiddush, and Havdalah. Havdalah doesn't have the same stringency as Kiddush does, as we explained in part 1 of the Shu'ur for Halacha Bet. But Rabotai, I want to share with you something very important. We saw yesterday that there was a very important machloket in the Shar Tzion with the Magen Avraham. I'm sorry, 1 second. No, not apologize. In Ot Yud Gimel, from according to the Taz and the Graz, meaning both of them, the Taz and the Graz, against the Machatzis Shekel. We saw that they had a very big argument. The Taz and the Graz, they both want to say that since you are inside a bread meal and you began in a permissible fashion, even though it's nightfall now, we go like the first opinion where you don't have to stop. Even if they say ba'uvin avdil, it doesn't do any damage, and you're allowed to continue eating without having to go back and saying a bracha. But came the Machatzit Shekel, what we saw yesterday in the Shulchan Aruch itself. The Machatzit Shekel, I just want to read for you the language. The Machatzit Shekel said, Kevin Shamru ba'uvin avdil, since they said, come and let's do havdalah, tzrichim lahafsik, they do need to stop. You're not allowed to continue eating until you do havdalah. But mikom makom bracha ain't tzrichin. However, he says nevertheless, a bracha you don't need to say. Rabbi, I just want to elaborate on this point. I don't think I was clear enough in part 1. I don't think I even touched upon that point. Maybe I did, but I want to be more clear. Rabbi, you have over here a problem. According to the Machatzit Shekel, that he says, when a person goes ahead and he says ba'uvin avdil, he says you have to stop, and the obligation of havdalah fell on you. But what are the next two words that the Machatzit Shekel says? Ein tzrichin levarech. When is that? Now, Rabbi, I want to explain to you something. Whenever you're dealing with halacha or anything else, these are concepts. It's conceptual. It's concepts, Rabbi. Again, meaning like this: that when the Machatzit Shekel tells you that if I'm right now inside the bread meal and I'm having, let's say, wine, an alcoholic beverage, and it's already nightfall, and I say ba'uvin avdil, according to the Machatzit Shekel, the proper order would be you have to stop. You can't consume anything. You have to first do havdalah, and only then can you continue consuming your meal. Now, Rabotai, comes the Machatzit Shekel over here and he wants to say like this. So he says you have to stop, but he explains, even though you have the obligation to say the havdalah, but let's say the person, he doesn't want to follow halacha. Who says he wants to follow halacha? Okay, whatever. They said ba'uvin avdil, they made a big mistake. Who says I want to follow the halacha? So I'm not going to do havdalah. But again, you're right. You want to do, you don't want to do, that's your problem. But the obligation of havdalah is on you, correct? If the obligation of havdalah is on you, you have to do it. But the guy says, I don't want to do it. And I want to continue eating and I want to continue drinking. What does the Machatzit Shekel say? Ein tzrichin levarech. Okay, in this case where he wants to go against the letter of the law, where he's not allowed to eat, according to Machatzit Shekel, and he goes there and he eats or drinks, so the Machatzit Shekel says, you don't have to go and bless. Comes the Mishabur in the Shartun in Ot Yud Gimel, he says, what? How does that make sense? Rabotai, listen to this. How can you tell me that I have the obligation of havdalah falls on me, and I don't have to bless, meaning when I don't want to listen to the halacha? On the contrary, if once you want to learn that the obligation of havdalah fell on me, because you said I have to stop. If I have to stop, that means havdalah, the obligation of saying havdalah fell on me. Therefore, even if I don't want to follow the halachot of saying havdalah right now, I'm not allowed to continue to drink according to the Machatzit Shekel. So what does he tell you? You don't have to go back and bless. Wait a minute, he says, comes the Mishabur in the Shartun. I mean, the Chavetz Chaim brings that's the Shartun, that's himself. And Od Yud Gimel says, I don't get it. If you tell a person tzrichim lavsik, so if once you tell you have to stop, that means there's an obligation of havdalah. Once there's an obligation of havdalah, I don't care if he's going to do havdalah now or not. But if he wants to go against the letter of the law and continue eating, he has to say a bracha. So how do you, the Machatzit Shekel, say, Ein tzrichin levarech? Doesn't make sense. So that's why, Rabotai, look into the Shartun one more time. And Rabotai, I love when I have opposition. I love those opinions that have opposition. It makes you remember the Torah much better. So he says like this, in Ot Yud Gimel, Ken mash me'ataz v'chen katav graz, so too it's implied from the taz and the graz, that if a person was in the middle of a bread meal, and he began it in a permissible way, and now it's already nightfall, and now the guys, they said to each other, let's go do havdalah, and then for whatever reason they said, we're not going to do it. The Taz and the Graz are going to tell you, no problem. Go ahead, continue eating, drinking. You don't have to say a bracha. Because they learned that you don't have to stop. If you don't have to stop, that means there's no obligation of havdalah on you. If there's no obligation of havdalah on you, that means you could continue eating or drinking without a blessing. Uduloki machatzit shekel. But this is not like the machatzit shekel, because what did the machatzit shekel say? The machatzit shekel said, in the same scenario, where you began in a permissible manner, and now it's nightfall, and you said the ba'uvin avdil, he says you have to stop. But the machatzit shekel says, but you have to stop, the obligation of havadalah fell on you, but if you don't want to do the havadalah, and you don't want to follow the halach that you're not allowed to continue to consume eating or drinking, so now the machatzit shekel says, even if you want to go against the halacha, you don't have to bless. Comes the Shartun and he says, I'm getting 1 second. He said like this, 1 second. Let me just, I gotta read like this, but understand that's the whole context. And it's not like the machatzit shekel, and it's very simple to understand. Why is it simple to understand that what the machatzit shekel is saying, Rabotai, with all due respect, the way the Shartun wants to say, doesn't make sense. It doesn't go hand in hand. Why is that? He said like this. If we want to say like you, that they're no longer allowed to continue to eat, because they said ba'uvin avdil, okay, it would have fallen on them the obligation of havdalah, they would have to go back and bless. But how do you machatzit shekel tell me that they do need to stop? The obligation of havdalah fell on them. Again, remember, is the concept that is there. I don't care if they're doing it or not. They're not doing it in this case. They don't want to follow halacha. But the obligation of havdalah is on them. So that means they have to do it. But the guy says, I don't want to do it. So you're not allowed to eat. The guy says, I don't care what you say. Comes to machatzit shekel. Okay, machatzit shekel says, fine. You go against halacha. So when it comes to being able to consume the drink, go ahead and don't say the bracha. Comes the Shartun says, excuse me? If you're going to tell me right now that you have to stop, and there's an obligation of havdalah on him, even though he's not saying the havdalah, is only the concept, the havdalah is there. He says when you're going back to consume, even though you're not allowed to consume the food or the drink, when you're going back to consume, you have to go back and say the bracha. So in simple English, there will be no difference, according to you, machatzit shekel, when it comes with ba'uv v'nikadesh by Friday afternoon, when it was still before Shabbat, if the people said ba'uv v'nikadesh, over there we say it's asur for you to eat, and you have to do kiddush. But what happens? They don't want to do kiddush, and they want to continue eating, which is against the halacha. We're going to tell you have to go back and bless on everything. Same thing over here, the Chavetz Chaim says. According to you, the machatzit shekel, it should have made sense. It should have said exactly like over there, that if once you have to stop, that means you have the obligation of havdalah, even though they're not doing it. Fine, they're not allowed to continue eating or drinking. Correct, but what happens if they do want to do it? You should have said just like over there by the ba'uv v'nikadesh, that they have to go back and say the bracha. But what are you telling me, the machatzit shekel? They don't have to go back and say the bracha. That's why the Shartun says it doesn't make sense to say like the machatzit shekel. Okay. Rabotai, again, understand one thing. When I learn Torah, when I teach Torah, again, I can't see who's learning. That's the problem, Rabotai. In a classroom setting, I'll pay attention who got it, who didn't get it, and I will be able to ask, did you get it, did you not get it? Over here, I can't see who's watching me. You could see me, I can't see you because, all right? But I do want you guys to understand, if you guys do have any questions, please ask your local Talmud Chacham to explain this piece, because Rabotai, I think I'm making it clear. I don't know if I could make it any clearer, but that's what I want to say. I wanted to touch upon this point because we did it yesterday, but I don't think I elaborated on it more than I have to. Okay. More than I had to. Okay. So, Rabotai, we see from over here, but the halacha, Rabotai, halacha speaking, a person who's inside the bread meal, and it's already nightfall, excuse me, and you said ba'uv navdil, we're going to say that if they want to go back and eat, they don't have to bless. Same halacha is going to apply for Sephardim when you're only having a beverage and it's already nightfall, and you said ba'u v'navdil. Over there we're going to tell you that even if you want to go back now, where you're not allowed to go back, by the bread meal, if you want to go back, you can go back. By the drinking alone, when you're not in the bread meal, you're not allowed to go back and drink. But if you're going to go back and drink, since by you saying ba'uv and avdil, it separates you from your drinking, and the obligation of havadalah falls on you. Once the obligation of havadalah falls on you, and it's asur, it's forbidden for you to continue drinking, and where you want to go against the law, and you want to don't, and you're not going to say havdalah, and you want to continue drinking, we're going to tell you, according to the opinion of the Beit Yosef, not to say the bracha. According to the Mishabur, you're going to say the bracha. Halacha Rabotai, Sephardim do not say the bracha because of the concept of safek brachot lehakel. Right? Like we explained, whenever you have a doubt, whenever you're dealing with brachot which are derabanan, lehakel, you're always going to be lenient by not saying the bracha. Okay. Oh, Rabotai, you have no idea. You have no idea. Or maybe you guys do have an idea. Let's not say no idea. You have an idea. You have an idea how beautiful Torah can be. Okay. This is that. Let's move on. Okay, let's get to our shiur today. Second close. Okay. Okay, let me just regroup. 1 second. Okay. Okay, so we are continuing Halacha Bet and Siman Reish Tzadik Tet. We saw yesterday what we just reviewed now, and then we had one line where we didn't elaborate on it, which was V'yesh mi shecholek bedavar. And there's someone that wants to argue on this halacha of the stam in the Shulchan Aruch. Because remember, what did the Shulchan Aruch say? I have to repeat it. What did the Shulchan Aruch say in the world of the Mishnah Berurah? That if a person is inside the bread meal and he's drinking and it's already nightfall, and they said ba'uv v'navdil, now when they want to go back and continue eating or drinking, they don't have to go back and re-bless the berachot. Comes this Manda Amr, v'yesh mi shecholek bedavar, and there's someone that wants to argue on this halakha. What does it mean argue? He wants to go against the stam and he wants to say no. In such a situation, by you saying ba'uv v'navdil, we're going to require you to go back and say the bracha. Before we do the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkat and Chet, let's see the Bi'ur Halacha. Who's this V'yesh mi shecholek? Who's this opinion that disagrees with the stam? Let me see over here. Dalet Odal. This is Maharik Ledat Harif V'smak Afilu L'divrei Atosvot Ledat Atur V'siman Reish Anal V'harosh Afilu Ledat Harif. Okay, fine. Okay, Rabotai. No, it's just I was reading the Bergola. If you guys pay attention over here, don't mind the scribble. It's all the notes I have to take in order to be able to give you the class. But over here, Bergola, where we said over here, the Bergola, it gives you whose opinion, who's saying what. Whenever the stam or whenever the yesh, who's the one who's saying it, it brings the names over here, the Rishonim, it brings you over there, which Gemor's brought down, and so on and so forth. Okay. So Rabotai, let's see into the Bi'ur Halacha in Dibur HaMatchil. Remember what means Dibur HaMatchil? The beginning of the words. V'yesh mi shecholek bedavar. There's somebody that disagrees with the opinion of the stam, and he says that you do have to go back and bless. When they decide to go ahead and go back and consume the food or the drink, they do have to go back and bless. That was the v'yesh mi shecholek. Let's see his underlining reasoning. Rabbi said tea is very good. I don't know. Ever since I got the Yuko app, I have stopped being on all these soft drinks, Coca-Cola, Sprite, ginger ale. Chinese tea, by the way. Okay. Rabotai, it's very important. People should know that they have an obligation to eat healthy, obligation to consume healthy things, drink healthy things. People try to do mitzvot, tefillin, mezuzah. It could be anything. But a person should not overlook his body, his health, the way he looks, the way he dresses. It's very simple. The rule is very simple. If you can't take care of yourself, how do you plan to take care of your neshama? It's very simple about that. A person who's able to take care of himself, then he's going to be able to also take care of his neshama. Okay, Rabotai? Okay. All right. Rabotai, we say like this in the Biur Halacha. V'yesh mi shecholek bedavar. Hatam, the reason why does he argue on the stam? The reason is Katvu Hataz v'Magen Ram. The Taz and the Magen Ram they wrote the Svirale because he held the Kevin Shamru Ba'uvin Avdil, since they said come and let's do havadalah, Istalek Sudataihu, they removed themselves from the meal, Vehavi Bichlal Hesecha Da'at. And that's in the rule of as if we removed our mind from the food. Whose opinion is this? V'hu dat ha'ra'avad be'perik dalet mihilchot berachot. Is the opinion of the Ra'avad in chapter 4 in Halachot of Berachot. Let me see something over here. Okay. Doesn't bring it down. Okay. The Svirale, because the Ra'avad held, the Avshen Tzrichil Avsik, Rabotai, listen how beautiful Torah is. One second, Rabotai, one second. Okay. Rabotai, I think I kiss the Torah more than I do my wife. Anyway. Hey, Rabotai, no, because it's every time, it's almost every time, like, Rabotai, you see a Chiddush, okay. Okay, apologize about that. Who that Ravad beperek dal mihilchot berachot? This relay that the Ravad held, the Avshin Tzrichil Avsik, here we go. The Ravad held that even though you said the words Ba'uvin Avdil, he holds you don't have to stop. But what? Nevertheless, you have to stop. And you have to go back and bless the bracha because you removed your mind from the meal. Rabotai, it's nas, Rabotai. One more time. I got it one more time. The Ravad held like this. The Avshen Tzirchin Lahavsik, even though you don't have to stop the meal. By me saying Ba'uvin Avdil, he wants to learn the obligation of havadalah doesn't fall on me. Nevertheless, you need to go back and need to bless because of the Hesech Da'at. You're right, Rabotai, by me saying Ba'uvin Avdil, it doesn't mean that I already took out Shabbat, so therefore the obligation of havadalah does not fall on me. You're right. But by saying those words, you are removing yourself. So the Ravad is telling you, even though I'm not going to tell you to stop, you could continue eating. But because you said the words Ba'uvin Avdil, you have to go back now and say the blessing again on the bread. Rabotai, do you see how beautiful the Torah is? Completely opposite of what the Stam said. The Stam said in the same case, by saying Ba'uvin Avdil, you don't separate yourself from the meal. So if I don't separate myself from the meal, therefore he says you're allowed to continue to eat without the bracha. He said, one second. By saying Ba'uvin Avdil, meaning the Ravad, by saying Ba'uvin Avdil, you do separate yourself from the meal. But still what? I will allow you to continue to eat. You still don't have the obligation of havadalah on you. And I will allow you to continue to eat. But the chiddush is, you still have to go back and bless. That's the opinion of the Ravad. So we can say that this is, Rabotai, this is the opinion of the Yesh Misha Cholek B'davar. We can say that this is the Ravad that disagrees on the Stam. Ubebi'ur HaGra Katav, in the explanation of the Gra, he wrote, the Tam HaYesh Misha Cholek Hu Svarad Maharik. No. The Gaon Mevilna, the explanation of the Gaon Mevilna, he says, no. Who is this Yesh Misha Cholek? It's not the Ravad. He wants to learn it's completely somebody else. He says like this. The Hatam HaYesh Misha Cholek, the reason of the one that disagrees with the Stam, who Svarad Maharik, is the opinion of the Maharik. The Svirale, because the Maharik, he held, Kehayesh Omrim Shebesif Aleph. Like the Yesh Omrim in the first halakha in the Shulchan Aruch. The Tzarich Lahavsik Keshashcha. That you need to stop once it's already nightfall. Because you remember in halakha Aleph we said, even if a person began in a permissible manner, but once the night fell, once the 3 stars came out, you have to stop. That's according to Yeshomim Halach Aleph. Rabotai, these were the previous Shurim. The Tzarich Lavsik Kashecha, Umemele, so therefore it comes out, Kisha Amar Ba'uvin Avdil, so therefore since they have to stop because of the nightfall, so now when they go ahead and they say Ba'uvin Avdil, Tzarich Lachzor Ulevarech. Those words are going to make you go back and now they're going to make you say the blessing again. Again, you are not allowed to continue to eat. You're not allowed to continue. But what does he tell you? Still, he says, if you want to continue, or you're going against halacha, you have to go back and you have to bless. Just like the Mishnah Berurah said regarding when you were only drinking, if you began drinking in a permissible manner, and now the night fell, meaning the 3 stars came out, the Mishnah Berurah says when you settle, again, the night already cuts you out. You can no longer drink, except water. We're not speaking about the water right now. The night already cuts you out from drinking. You're not allowed to drink. But let's say you were drinking because you don't want to follow the halacha. And now in the middle of the drinking, you said ba'uvin avdil. By saying ba'uvin avdil, the Mishnah Berurah is going to tell you have to go back and now say the bracha. Rabotai, same thing over here. That's the way the Biur HaGra wants to explain the yesh mi shecholek. So one more time, Rabotai, the Biur HaGra. So let me just, I have to go back. I just want to do the Ravad and the Gra, so it goes hand in hand. One more time. V'yesh mi shecholek bedavar hatam. The reason is of the one that goes ahead and he argues on the stam. Katu hataz v'magen aram, the taz and the magen aram wrote, this relate the kivin shamru b'ovin avdil istalek sudatahu v'hav bichlas ha'izich. Because he held that since they said the words ba'uvin avdil, they removed themselves from the meal, and they are included in the rule by removing their mind from their meal. Whose opinion is that? Who data Ravad? Excuse me. That is the opinion of the Ravad. Beperek dal mihilchot berachot. This really because the Ravad he held the avshein tzrichin lafsi. Good, you could continue eating. You don't have to stop. By saying the words ba'uvin avdil, you don't have to stop. Good. Nevertheless, you have to go back and you have to bless because of hesech da'at, because you really removed your mind from the meal. The words of ba'uvin avdil does not put the obligation of havadalah on you. So are you going to tell me I have to stop and that's it, finish? No. He says there's no obligation of havadalah on you, but nevertheless, by you saying that you removed yourself from the meal. If I remove myself from the meal and now I continue eating and drinking, I have to go back and bless. That was the opinion of the Ravad. The Biur HaGra writes, the Tama yesh mi shecholek hu svar maharik. The reason of the one that he goes over here and he argues on the stam, that is the opinion of the maharik. The Sfira leka yesh umrim shebesiv aleph. Because this yesh mi shecholek, he goes like the opinion of the maharik that holds like the yesh umrim in halacha aleph. The tzarich lavshik keshachashecha. He wants one completely different. He wants to learn you have to stop. You mamish have to stop. Umemela. So it comes out. So when you said the words ba'uvin avdil, now you have to go back and you have to bless. Rabotai, like we said in Mishnah Berurah regarding when you were only drinking alone. Now I want to explain something like this. Let me make sure I'm able to get it out there. 1 second. Wow. Okay. Guys, you have to understand. You might ask me a question again. We saw this in yesterday's class. Right? According to the Biur HaGra, that he wants to say the reason of the one that argues on the stam, he's the yesh mi shecholek, basically in Hebrew, it's the one who argues. Yesh mi shecholek is using the opinion of the maharik, that the maharik held like the yesh omrim. So it comes out of here, Rabotai, you might ask me a question like we saw yesterday. So if nightfall forbids you from eating, because that's the opinion of the yesh omrim in halacha aleph, if that forbids you from eating, what do I care about ba'uvin avdil? Why by me saying ba'uvin avdil changes anything? So he explains over here, the Biur HaGra says, like we saw yesterday, yes, you're not allowed to continue to eat. Let's say, Rabotai, right now I'm eating. Let's say I'm eating something, right? Okay, I don't know. Let's say I'm eating something right now. According to the yesh omrim, I started in a permissible manner, but now night fell. 3 stars came out. Do I have to stop? I have to stop. But the novelty over here is, Rabotai, that Isser of continuing to eat does not require me to go ahead and say another bracha. Yes, it's asur for me to continue to eat, but it does not require me to say another bracha on my food. But by the word ba'uvin avdil, now you went ahead and you separate yourself from the meal. That separates you from the meal. So once that separates you from the meal, so now when I have to go back and eat, I have to say the bracha. That becomes the Biur HaGra, and he said that there's a very big difference between hashecha, the night, when it's nightfall, if this cuts you off to forbid you from eating, or the word ba'uvin avdil, if that cuts you off from eating, it's 2 different things. When the night cuts you off, it's also for you to eat. The forbidden of eating doesn't make you go back and say the bracha. But by you saying ba'uvin avdil, you separating yourself completely from the meal, that will require you to say the bracha. Even though, according to the Biur HaGra, you're not allowed to continue to eat. Rabotai, understand the Biur HaGra like this. Let's go first with the Ravad. The Ravad says by saying ba'uvin avdil, one more time, Rabotai. But the Ravad says by saying ba'uvin avdil, it doesn't stop me from eating. I can continue eating because the obligation of havadalah did not fall on me, so I can continue eating. But those words ba'uvin avdil separated me from the meal. So therefore I have to go back and I have to now say the bracha. According to the Biur HaGra, he says no. He goes like, he wants to say that this yesh mishcholek is going like in the opinion of the maharik. That what? He says that since night is what already forbids you to eat, you're not allowed to continue eating. You have to stop already. So by you saying ba'uvin avdil, that separates you completely from the meal. So when you have to stop, that means the obligation of havdalah falls on you. You're not allowed to continue eating, but you'll continue eating. That will not obligate you in the bracha. But once you say the words ba'uvin avdil, since you already had the obligation of havdalah on you, the ba'uvin avdil, if I can say it in a way, it only reinforced the halacha of that you have to stop at night. So now you have to go back and you have to say a bracha. That's what Rabotai says. 1 second. The tzarich lafsik keshachashecha. Umimela, so it comes out. If you already have to stop at night, so it comes out. When you say the words ba'uvin avdil, tzarich lachzor ulevarech. Again, you're not allowed to do it. But if you're going to do it, you have to go back and say the bracha. Okay. Rabotai, that was the opinion of the Taz and the Magen Avraham explaining the Ravad. They want to learn that this Yesh Omrim is the Ravad, meaning it's going like the opinion of the Ravad. He says, V'hutat Ravad, that's the Ravad. 1 second, Rabotai, just let me see something. Shh. Okay. Let me just clarify this, Rabotai. Just let me clarify this. We'll see when it comes to Halacha, we'll see he's going to say right now, in Halacha, there's no difference, Rabotai. There's no real outcome from this. It's just a matter of learning the Torah. So let me make this one more time clear. You know something? Let me see something in the Berigola. 1 second. Maharik l'datarif. Maharik l'datarif usmag. Okay, so let's do this. Let me go a little bit more inside with you. Put it like this. From the Biur Halacha, it's implied that this yesh mishocholek is going like the opinion of the Ra'avad. Again, from this, I don't know who the yesh mishocholek is. I don't know who this Tana is. Meaning this, I guess it has to be a Rishon. I don't know who he is. According to the Biur HaGra, he wants to learn that this yesh mishocholek is going like the Maharik. So, one more time. The Taz and the Magen Avraham want to learn that this Yesh Mishacholek is going like the Ra'avad. The Biur HaGra, he wants to learn that the Yesh Mishacholek is going like the Maharik. Now, if you guys look into Berigola in Odalit, he says, who is this Yesh Mishacholek? He wants to learn it completely different. And he says, Maharik, L'dat Arif Ismag. He wants to learn that this Yesh Mishacholek is the opinion of the Maharik. Because if you look into the Biur HaGra, he said, the Tama Yesh Mishacholek hu Svar Maharik. He doesn't say that this is the Yesh Mishacholek is the Maharik. He says that's the opinion of the Maharik. 1 second, let me see something about time. The Tama Yesh Mishacholek hu Svar Maharik. Right, that's the opinion of the Maharik. I want to just show you something about that. If you ever see me go back and forth, you have to understand one thing. When I have to translate it into English, when in Hebrew you understand it a certain way. In Hebrew it's very easy. But when it comes into translating it to English, now when you're saying it in English, you have to make sure that it also makes sense. So you have to always add a few words here and there. So if you ever see me get stuck or try to go back and forth, it's only because in English it doesn't make sense. In Hebrew, it makes perfect sense. That's what's very important to learn in Hebrew. When you learn in Hebrew, everything's like water. Okay. So Rabotai, comes out to be like this. The Berigola tells you that this opinion of the Yesh Mishacholek is actually the Maharik, but it's a Maharik in the opinion of the Riv and the Smag. That's him. And then he says, you could even say it's according to the opinion of the Tosfot, in the world of the Tur. And you could also say, and you could also say, actually, it's the Rosh, even in the opinion of the Rif. Wow, 1 second, about time. This is nuts. Maharik ledat Rif, v'smag vafilu divrei Tosfot. Oh no, 1 second, I do apologize. 1 second. I got it. I see. I missed the hay. There was a hay over here. I just crossed it out. Okay, 1 second. Rabotai, let's go back. Apologize about this. Let's go back. No, so it's the hay over there is going on the hay for Halacha Gimel. I thought that hay was, I didn't see it because it's crossed with my pen. Fine. So it's like this, Rabotai. So now it makes no sense because it was too many Rishonim in one V'yesh Micholek. Because you have to understand when the Shulchan Aruch says V'yesh, it's one opinion. It's not Yesh Omrim, it's not many opinions. That's why I was not being able to figure it out. But it says like this. So you have to say Maharik Ledat Arif. This V'yesh Micholek is the Maharik according to the opinion of the Rif, Vesmag, and the Smag. You could even learn that this is going according to the words of the Tosfot, this Yesh Micholek. Okay, fine. Rabotai, Ule'inin Halacha. When it comes to Halacha, Ein Nafka Mine Bazeh. There is no practical outcome with this. Rabotai, to us it makes no difference from this Halacha. Who holds what the Yesh Micholek says, the Biur Halacha says, it doesn't make a difference. Why? He says, you don't need the reason of the Gra. Why don't you need the reason of the Gra? Because what did the reason of the Gra say? The Gaon Vilna said that this is going in the opinion of the Maharik, and the Maharik is going in the opinion of the Yesh Omrim, in the Halach Aleph. So he says, we don't need the opinion of the Gra. Kvar katav Rama mikodem dehaminu kesvara harishonim. Because already the Rama wrote previously in Halacha Aleph that the minhag is like the first opinion in Halacha Aleph, where if a person was eating in a permissible manner and night fell, you're allowed to continue eating. So that's why the Gaon Vilna is telling me you have to stop. We don't need the Gaon Vilna's reasoning because we don't even hold like him. Even according to the reason of the Taz and the Magen Avraham, also Rabotai, you don't need it. Why? Even according to the reason of the Taz and the Magen Avraham that they wanted to learn is going like the Ravad, that he's holding like the Ravad, also you don't need it. Why don't you need it? Because he explains. 1 second. Halom Michaber Naked Ledata Rambam. Because didn't the Michaber already go with the opinion of the Rambam? Dehud De'ah Harishona Bistama, which is the first opinion in the Shulchan Aruch. But now he says, Ubelav Hachi, even if you would not give me those reasons, Safek Berachot Lakil. Even if you would not give me the reasons of the Taz and the Magen Avraham and the Biur Gra, even without, no, I'm sorry. All right, 1 second, Rabotai. No, not that. 1 second, no. Bolvachi Safek Berachot Lakil. Correct. The other way, Rabotai. Belavach, even without the reason that he just gave you right now, that the Rama already says like the minhag is like the first opinion, and the Michaber already went like the Rambam, even without giving you these reasons, still we wouldn't be able to go like the Taz and the Magen Avraham and the Biur Gra. Why? Because there's Safek Berachot Lakel. Because whenever you have a doubt whether you have to go ahead and say the bracha or not, we're going to tell you not to say the bracha because it's a doubt. And since berachot are only from the rabbis, and when something's from the rabbis, you always have to be lenient. So therefore, you're not going to be able to go ahead and bless. Rabotai, let's just conclude over here with Sivkat and Chet. The Mishnah says, there's somebody who wants to disagree with the Stam. Sirele, he held, the Kevin Shamru Ba'uvin Avdil, since they said the words Ba'uvin Avdil, Tzrichin Lachzor Ulavarech. They need to go back and they need to bless. And the main halacha is like the first opinion that you don't go back and bless. Rabotai, pay attention. After you do the Biur Halacha, you can simply appreciate what the Mishnah Berurah says. Right? Since they said Ba'uvin Avdil, they need to go back and bless. That's the Yesh Mishcholek, correct? But now that you do the Biur Hagra, you can understand. The Taz and the Magen Avraham want to explain that this Yesh Mishcholek is going like the Ravad. that he held, by you saying Ba'uvin Avdil, you separate yourself. That you have to go back and bless. In the world of the Biur Hagra, that he wants to learn that Yesh Mishacholek is going like the Maharik, is because he's learning like the Yesh Omrim in the first opinion, because once night falls, by using Ba'uvin Avdil, you're only strengthening that concept. So not only do you have to stop, you're not even allowed to continue, but if you do continue, which is against Halacha, he says you have to go back and bless. But we say, Rabotai, Halacha is like the first opinion. Rabotai, if it was too long, I do apologize. Again, this is learning Halacha. One of the disadvantages when you're learning via the media, so you can't ask questions, I can't see who's doing what, and at the same time, Rabotai, you have to be careful when you go ahead and you understand the Biur Halacha, Shartiyu, Mishabura. Everything has to make sense. In any event, Rabotai, we're going to conclude with this Halacha. There will be no review for tomorrow because until we finish with the Halacha, once we finish with the Halacha, we don't do reviews. So let's just do one quick review. Halacha l'maaseh. A person in the middle of a bread meal who is having a drink, and it's already nightfall, he said, Ba'u venavdil. What is the halacha going to tell us? The halacha is going to say, when you go back to eat, meaning if you want to go back to eat, you don't have to go back and bless any berachot on the food or drinks. But we did see, Rabotai, when it comes to only drinking, according to the Mishnah Berurah, by saying Ba'uvin Avdil, you would have to go back and bless. According to us, the Sephardim, you don't go back and bless because of Safek Berachot Lakel. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen ve'amen.